BJJ has a problem. Most BJJ gyms are obsessed with technique but totally ignore strength and conditioning. You roll with the average guy and yeah, his jiu-jitsu is clean, but physically, weak grip, noodle legs, zero explosiveness. How many times have you seen a wrestler with maybe 6 months of BJJ experience come into our gym or a tournament and absolutely demolish blue belts who've been training for 2 or 3 years? It happens all the time, and it's not because wrestling technique is somehow superior to jiu-jitsu technique. It's because wrestlers come from a training culture that treats strength and conditioning as fundamental to their sport, not as some optional add-on. The same thing happens with judokas. They walk onto our mats, and even if their ground game isn't perfect, they grip fight like demons. They have incredible balance. And when they decide to move you, you get moved. Why? Because from day one of their judo training, they've been doing exercises specifically designed to make them stronger, more explosive, and more physically capable grapplers. But in the BJJ community, we have this saying, technique conquers all. And while technique is absolutely crucial, this mentality has created a massive blind spot. We've somehow convinced ourselves that training doesn't matter, that if your technique is good enough, you don't need to be strong. This is not just wrong, it's actively holding you back from reaching your potential. Let me explain this from a biochemical perspective. Every single technique in Jiu-Jitsu, from the most basic hip escape to the most complex berimbolo, requires force production. When you bridge to escape mount, you're using your glutes and hamstrings to generate force. When you're maintaining your guard, you're using your hip flexors and core to control distance. When you're finishing a choke, you're using your lats, biceps, and grip strength to apply pressure. The amount of force you can produce directly impacts how effective these techniques are. And here's what really frustrates me. I see guys in the gym who can demonstrate picture-perfect technique during drilling, but when it comes time to roll, especially against someone stronger, their technique falls apart. Not because they don't know what to do, but because they literally don't have the physical capacity to execute what they know. They can't create the frames they need because their arms are too weak. They can't maintain posture in guard because their core and back are underdeveloped. They can't finish submissions because their grip gives out. They can't take anybody down because they lack the explosive power and strength to penetrate their opponent's defenses, even when they time their shots perfectly. This creates a vicious cycle. Because they can't execute technique effectively against resistance, they start relying on attributes they don't have, like trying to muscle through positions. This leads to fatigue, which leads to sloppy technique, which leads to getting dominated, which reinforces the idea that they need to learn more technique instead of addressing the fundamental problem. They're simply not strong enough. Now, I know what some of you are thinking. You're thinking that strength training will make you tight, slow, and less flexible. This is one of the most persistent myths in BJJ and it needs to die. Proper strength training with full range of motion exercises actually improve your flexibility and mobility. When you squat to full depth, you're improving your hip mobility. When you do pull-ups from a dead hang, you're improving your shoulder mobility. These movement patterns directly transfer to better performance on the mats. Let's talk about injury prevention for a moment, because this is huge, especially for beginners. Do you know why BJJ has such high injury rates compared to other martial arts? It's not because the sport is inherently more dangerous. It's because most practitioners are going into physically demanding situations without adequate physical preparation. When your muscles are weak, your joints take more stress. When your movement patterns are poor, you're more likely to move in ways that cause injury. When you don't have the strength to maintain good posture, you end up in compromised positions where injuries are more likely to occur. I see this all the time. Someone gets stacked in their guard and tweaks their neck because they don't have the core strength to maintain proper alignment. Someone gets their arm isolated and injures their shoulder because they don't have the strength to maintain good frames. Someone blows out their knee during a scramble because they don't have the leg strength and stability to handle dynamic movements. These injuries are largely preventable with proper strength training. So what does effective strength training for BJJ actually look like? It's not doing bicep curls in front of a mirror or spending hours on isolation exercises. It's building functional strength through compound movements that directly transfer to grappling. You need to be doing squats, and I mean full depth squats. You need to be doing deadlifts to build that posterior chain strength that's crucial for everything from maintaining posture to executing takedowns. You need to be doing pull-ups, rows, and other pulling movements to build the back strength that's essential for control and submissions. But here's where most people get it wrong. They either try to follow some generic bodybuilding program they found online, or they just randomly do exercises without any thought to how it integrates with their BJJ training. This is where you run into problems with recovery, overtraining, and lack of progress. You need a program that's specifically designed for the demands of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu that takes into account your training schedule, your recovery capacity, and your individual needs. This is where I want to tell you about something that I think can really help, especially if you're a white or blue belt trying to figure out how to add strength training to your BJJ. There's a service called medstrong.com that I've been really impressed with. What they do is create completely customized strength and conditioning programs specifically for BJJ athletes. You go to their website, take a comprehensive assessment that covers everything from current fitness level to injury history to your training schedule, and they create a program that's designed specifically for you. What I really like about MedStrong is that they understand the unique demands of BJJ. They know that you can't just throw a generic lifting program at a grappler and expect good results. Their programs are designed to improve the specific physical qualities that matter for BJJ: grip strength, core stability, hip mobility, explosive power for scrambles, and the kind of strength endurance that lets you maintain good technique even in the later rounds. The programs are periodized properly, which means they're structured in phases that build on each other. You start with a foundation phase that builds general strength and addressing any imbalances or weaknesses. Then you move into an integration phase, where the training becomes more specific to grappling movements. And if you're competing, there's a peaking phase that gets you ready to perform at your best on competition day. What's really cool is that they account for your BJJ training schedule. So if you're training 4 times a week, your strength program is designed to complement that, not compete with it. They understand recovery, they understand the total training load, and they structure everything so you're getting stronger without burning out or getting injured. I also appreciate that they provide exercise alternatives based on what equipment you have access to. Not everyone trains at a fully equipped gym, and MedStrong accounts for that. Whether you're training at a commercial gym, a home gym, or even just with minimal equipment, they can create a program that works for you. This isn't just some cookie-cutter program that everyone gets. This is literally a personalized training plan at a fraction of what you'd pay for a personal trainer. We're talking about a 12-week program that's designed specifically for your needs, your goals, and your current situation. And right now, they're offering 25% off with my code MINMAXING. That's MINMAXXING. Look, I get it. When you're new to BJJ, there's so much to learn technique-wise that adding strength training might seem like too much. But here's what I want you to understand. The sooner you start building your physical foundation, the faster your jiu-jitsu will improve. When you're stronger, you can drill more without getting fatigued. You can roll more rounds while maintaining good technique. You can actually execute the moves you're learning instead of just knowing them intellectually. And for those of you who are blue belts, you're at the perfect stage to really see the benefits of strength training. You have enough technical knowledge to understand how strength enhances your game. You know what positions you struggle with and what physical attributes would help. Maybe you have trouble maintaining closed guard on bigger opponents because your hip flexors are too weak. Maybe you can't finish arm triangles because you don't have the pressing strength. Maybe your guard passing suffers because you can't maintain good posture. These are all problems that proper strength training can solve. The bottom line is this: Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is a sport like any other. Physical preparation matters. You wouldn't expect a basketball player to perform well without strength training. You wouldn't expect a soccer player to compete without conditioning. So why do we think BJJ is any different? Yes, technique is crucial. Yes, mat time is irreplaceable. But if you're not addressing your physical preparation, you're leaving massive potential on the table. I've seen what happens when BJJ practitioners finally commit to proper strength training. Their game transforms. Movements that were impossible become easy. Positions they used to avoid become their strongest attacks. They roll with more confidence because they know their bodies can handle the demands they're placing on them. They get injured less, they recover faster, and they enjoy their training more because they're not constantly dealing with aches and pains. So, here's my challenge to you. Stop making excuses about why you can't or shouldn't strength train. Stop believing the myths about getting too tight or too slow. Stop thinking that technique alone is enough. Make the commitment to become a complete grappler, someone who has both technical knowledge and the physical capacity to execute at the highest level. Whether you design your own program, hire a coach, or use a service like matstrong.com, the important thing is that you start. Your future self, the one who's submitting people you couldn't submit before, the one who's not gassing out after 2 rounds, the one who's finally able to impose their game on stronger opponents, that future self will thank you for making this decision today. Remember, matstrong.com. Use coupon code MINMAXING for 25% off your customized program. Don't wait until you're injured or plateaued to start your physical preparation seriously. The best time to plant a tree was 10 years ago. The second best time is now. Get strong, stay healthy, and watch your jiu-jitsu reach levels you never thought possible. Like and subscribe. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.